Welcome back to Serena's Playbook. I usually upload twice a week, and I thought I would do some bonus content for you. So, in this live stream, I will be sharing 5 tips that I think are going to be so super useful for you, the entrepreneur, the creator in 2025. I'm bearing in mind things like the digital communications landscape, AI, and risks to reputation. So let's get straight into it. I hope you're well. A very quick intro. I have been in media and communications for more than 20 years. I'm a chartered public relations practitioner, and I'm also pre-PhD. I'm studying a postgraduate master's in systems thinking, which has just blown my mind in so many ways. I have a 9 to 5. I am also a parent. I'm born and bred in London, and I created this channel because I wanted to share strategic, reflective thinking, critical thinking for people like me who are entrepreneurs, creators, who have a great deal of expertise and want to share it in the most impactful way, who are concerned about reputation, online presence, brand longevity, sustainability, and also how to make it sustainable for our personal lives, because we are wearing so many different hats as creators and entrepreneurs. I'm also a creative and an artist. I keep a lot of that offline and only now and then put that stuff out. I have multiple channels. You can go check them out. Let's get straight into this video now that the intro is out of the way. So, first things first, this is about having a modular content ecosystem. So, what do I mean by this? And I do have some notes, so I'll be looking from side to side occasionally. So, a modular content ecosystem means having one piece of sort of core content that you've created, like a video or a blog, and then being able to do things like repurposing it into snippets for your reels, for your X posts. Now, full disclosure, I don't always get time to do this, but if I do, it's helpful for me to have that sort of one core piece of content, which I can then replicate in different ways. The reason why this is so important, I think, is because not only does it, yes, save time, maximize reach, etc., 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 although I won't go completely gung-ho onto shorts and reels, is that it signposts any new audiences to my core content because I've chosen a core content. So basically, it means you've been much more intentional with what you create on a core basis, and you're sort of creating an advert for that. And so when I think about this, I think about being within an interconnected content network where people are consuming reels, carousel sort of static posts, short form video, long form video, podcasts, etc. So I think about how I'm going to pick something that really suits me, that completely serves me and my objectives for whichever channel I'm on. And then I think about ways to promote that using an additional bit or style of content, which is like clipping things to repurpose. The difference in this kind of approach is we're not thinking about doing everything, which I used to do, and almost not being so aware of what's core, what's priorities. Actually, there's one core thing, and if and when I get time, I will basically create a clip system using a secondary sort of style of content. So having this kind of modular content ecosystem allows you to kind of like a modular sort of furniture piece. You can literally take it apart, use it in different ways. And so when you have this kind of piece of content, and you can approach it in this sort of modular way, it gives you more options. And so if you're batch recording, if you're doing all that kind of thing, then what's going to be really useful for you is that you can perhaps pre-plan some clips. Perhaps you can pre-plan some segments. A lot of the time when we are creating, like I'm doing right now, I'm on a stream, it might be a bit tricky for me to clip this, because this is designed to be much more conversational and at this pace compared to my more planned, shorter videos that I put out every week. So that's the first one. I would love to hear your thoughts on that, about approaching the content ecosystem in a different way. Let's talk about proactive reputation management. Now, this one, I've talked about reputation. I think I've got a video coming out tomorrow, in fact. Depending on when you're watching this, there will be a video about PR disasters and how to basically handle them. And the video coming out tomorrow actually talks about this. And there are many ways that you can actually monitor your reputation or the brands that you're looking after, or your own brand. And you can do this with alerts. You can use Google. You can use all kinds of, I would say, monitoring systems that are free for you to be able to put in sort of searchable terms in advance and sort of get a generated report, which is actually going to really help you. So you can do that in advance so that you are able to anticipate, or actually more so, you are able to sort of grab anything as it comes out rather than getting caught and not being aware that, that sort of critique was published about my business or my brand or my product more than a week ago and I didn't know about it. So you want to get this sort of email generated report every so often, just so you're aware when someone's talking about you or your business or your product. You want to clarify who you are, your brand values, all on your site. Wherever you hold your about me. It might just be in your bio, in your sort of title, just so people are aware of, who you are, what you stand for, but also so it's like a reminder for you. It's a reminder for you to not stray so much. As a creative, I stray all the time and I have to pull myself back. I've got to rein myself all the way back in just to sort of bring my focus back to the niche or the thing that I'm offering. Now, that might not be a problem that you suffer from. So for you, it's a case of clarifying who you are and your values in that bio, on your about page, wherever it is. And then once you've done that, you can engage authentically no matter what platform you're on, because, we do this all the time when we are reading someone's controversial take on a post or in a comment, or wherever it is. We often will go to that person's profile and see who are they, what does their bio say about them, and that can help contextualize for whoever it is that is trying to deep dive on who you are. It can contextualize things for them. And so having a bit of an empty bio, not having your own photo on it, resembles a bit, it's giving troll, right? It's giving troll. So what you want to do is just make sure your bios, your brand values, your about page, all of it is ship shape. I'm just reminding myself I've got to do that as well, because I don't know about you, but as a creator, as an entrepreneur, you often have to iterate on this and revise it and tweak it and update it all the time, because things are changing. You evolve. Your business model, your brand, your offerings, everything evolves all the time. So it's not a bad thing. I used to think it was a bad thing. Why do I keep changing it? Well, because it's evolving. It is in constant sort of conversation with your audience and the business activity. It's not a static thing, nor should it be. How often do sort of brands, whether they're celebrity brands or not, how often do they delete everything on their Instagram feed to start anew because they want to present something new? It's a new mood, it's a new vibe, it's a new product, or it's a new way of positioning what they offer. And artists do this all the time. So why wouldn't you do something as simple as tweaking your bio, your sort of your even your captions on things, or your about page? If you're not, I think that's a problem. I just wish these are the things I wish I knew back 10, 20 years ago when I started doing comms and doing my own comms as a consultant and as a producer, doing all these sort of different things. I was almost kind of being quite self-critical unnecessarily. I think it's really important to definitely reflect on your choices and how you're doing things so you don't get in your own way. But, have confidence in your process because you're in it. You're in it. Reputation, we're still talking about reputation. It is a fragile web, and there are many things that are interrelated and interconnected. And if there's anything that my postgraduate in systems thinking master's is teaching me, is that there's never, what was it I read just the other day as I'm preparing for one of my exams? You will never step in the same river twice because things are always changing. I wish I had the reference. It's in one of my books behind me, but and one of my notebooks. But you will never step in the same river twice because of where you are. The riverbed changes, the water, hello, how fluid is it? So it's a great way to describe the landscape of business, of digital content, of digital media, and because everything is so sort of changing, constantly evolving, which actually makes things exciting rather than just being a very static organization only sort of moving in little nudges. I think that's probably what makes being an entrepreneur and a creator and an artist so exciting. But when things are like that, the unintended consequence could be that there could be risks to your reputation. So your reputation becomes like a fragile web that could be easily affected by things. And so it's something to always bear in mind, to reflect on, and to be prepared for. I'm really glad I did this bonus content, this sort of stream. There's only so much, I guess it's just a very different style, and being able to sort of just talk without having to sort of create this very short video. AI. Oh, sip. This is adaptogenic coffee from London Noon Tropics. I'm not sponsored, but it's just such a lovely alternative to coffee. So it's just kind of bring it into my morning mix. So AI, oh my goodness me, let's get comfortable for this one because, okay, we're all using AI. We were using AI before we were even aware we were using AI. So now we might be leaning a lot more on the new version of ChatGPT, on Grok 3, on there are so many providers now. And it's going to become a personal choice, and maybe you're limited due to sort of security risk concerns. But the great thing about AI is that it can actually help you to analyze trends. It can help you with audience data. It has become so. I'm from the generation of when you're an entrepreneur and you're sort of doing your own thing, you must have a team. You've got to have a team. Like I was there when Gary Vee was kind of not there with Gary Vee in his sort of studio or his office, but I was around at the time doing PR for entrepreneurs and speakers on the sort of speaking circuit in London. I was there when a lot of the business speak was, you've got to have a team, you've got to hire people, you've got to have an assistant, etc., etc. And whilst all of that might still absolutely be important, I've also seen many people scale back on the size of their teams, and they're relying on things, or they've either really kind of sort of trimmed back their operations so that they don't have so much to have to worry about and sort of have to sort of manage, but they also rely on wonderful automation. They have systems in place, which I absolutely love, but they are relying on AI to do some of this admin for them, to do some of the planning for them, to do some of the, use it as a sounding board. I have now begun to use it as a sounding board because I don't know about you, but for me, being a single parent, working all the time, not really speaking much to others about the projects that I'm developing or the creative that I'm working on, or trying to grapple with a situation of interest or concern for one of my systems thinking dilemmas in my area of practice for my study, sometimes I'm like, yeah, but what else would I need to consider for this? Or how, what could I be missing? What are the different worldviews or perspectives on this? And I'll just put that question in and I'll get some great feedback. So it's not just about cutting corners and cheating. And I'm not actually talking about that. What I'm saying is you can actually you can rely on AI to be your team player. I mean, sometimes it'll talk to you, right? Like you are its buddy. Be like, yeah, this is amazing. You can do this. And then you've got to be a little bit like, hold on one second. You're getting a little bit too familiar. So you've got to be discerning as well, because it's almost going to be selling an idea to you as well. But again, it is a wonderful tool for you to incorporate in your workflow. And once you pair AI with your human tuition, it's a winning formula. Of course it is. Why wouldn't it be? Why wouldn't it be? Hello, Walida Skin Food. Hands are a little bit dry. Dishwasher hands. It's Easter holidays. Been every opportunity. I don't know about you, but I follow that rule where if I'm washing my hands, it's like a habit stack, right? If I'm washing my hands, I'm absolutely going to quickly wash a mug or a dish. And keeps me on top of it. Don't want to give you ASMR vibes. So let's just quickly moisturize a dishwasher hand. So if you pair your AI with your human intuition, your instincts, your sort of knowledge about, because you're the person doing the work. So when you pair it with that, it can be a very powerful formula. And I think going forward, we must absolutely harness this. We should harness it. Just don't let it overtake your brand voice. Don't let it overtake your strategic thinking, because like with any opinion or any contribution you get from the outside, you've still got to tailor it to you, right? You've still got to tailor it to you. So think about it being much more iterative and like an iterative feedback loop. So you will get it in little chunks and you will need to iterate on it, but you're getting the feedback there, and it can be a great sort of workflow addition to what you do. Let's take a little sip of my adaptogenic coffee. It's wonderful to have you here. Thank you so much for watching the live stream. And if you're watching the recording, hello. So let's get to diversifying revenue with your audiences in a community way. Oh, why do I do that? Why do I react that way? Because sometimes when we hear about this, like, oh, you've got to have a newsletter, you've got to have a Discord, you need to have a digital product, you need to have a course. I'm like, you're telling me too much. I can't do it all. And there are so many creators and advisors out there who are saying, you don't have to do a course. Don't give yourself additional things that could actually, like, if we follow the whole principles of essentialism, it could take you away from the focus, which has got to be on the most essential thing that you're delivering here. At the moment, for me, what I feel like I'm delivering on this channel is advice like you're talking, hopefully, to a colleague. Or, when you're doing a course and the trainer is nice and conversational with you, I want to sort of almost create that with you. So at the moment, I'm building community here. And now, if I wanted to start small, I could be like, guys, I have the newsletter here. At the moment, I have a sign up so we can build, and then I could begin to generate something of value to you on a regular basis. I don't want to add more to your inbox. I've literally just I've cleaned my inbox out, like 20,000 emails. It's ridiculous. I had to do it over a few weeks. And then I realized it was a hack. And anyway, that's another whole other subject. But I completely agree with the idea that we have opportunities to build community in a newsletter, on a Discord, which is like a chat, if you like, if you don't use it, or, creating a digital product, depending on who you are and what you offer. It shouldn't just be like this arbitrary thing you do because everyone's doing it. Then you can build a little bit more. I suppose it's regularity off of the platform, a regular engagement, because it's a way for them to experience your expertise, what you offer on a regular basis, that is away from their sort of experience of just being this scrolling user, watching, listening to stuff. And it just feels a lot more like it's like quality time. It feels much more significant, much more substantial. And that's why I would recommend it as an approach, because of how it's much more authentic and genuine, not just because, oh, I've got to add it to the mix, because this is what you're supposed to do. And that will actually build trust in your expertise and what you have to offer. So I have been sort of drafting a playbook of sorts, but I'm not rushing it because I don't want to do it in an arbitrary, random fashion, and I don't want to lose trust. I rushed through a course a little while ago, which was actually free, I think, if I recall correctly, and it was about reputation management. And I put all my best stuff in it, but it was a bit rushed, but it still had great stuff in it. I'm just saying, it was still great. And it just felt like I was ticking a box, and it just didn't feel like an authentic thing. It was useful, just didn't feel authentic. And when I'm building an audience, I think it's really important to be as sincere as possible, because then we won't get that community that we want. We won't get that loyalty. If you're just starting out on a platform like I am on this particular channel, it's not my first YouTube channel, but if you're just starting out, to get that loyalty, to drive another income system, which is essentially what we're talking about here, then you've got to start off right. So yes, diversify your revenue, build your community, just please do it in a authentic, sincere, not a forced or formulaic fashion. This last one, oh my goodness. Plan for Black Swan events. Okay, so Black Swan events describes rare, unpredictable, high impact incidents that can basically disrupt your online presence, like a platform outage, a PR crisis, or a global shift. And the term comes from, I think it's Nassim Talib's book, The Black Swan, where it refers to events that are unexpected, that have major consequences and seem obvious only in hindsight. So it's great for, this is a great thing for creators and entrepreneurs, because these Black Swan events could derail our brands if we're not prepared. Hence the tip to plan for them. So let's talk about planning for Black Swan events. Now, I have always talked about, as a public relations person who's been doing it for more than 20 years, who is chartered, who talks, sort of not talks, but does the actual job as a 9 to 5 as well as doing it independently as a consultant. I'm always looking at reputation, how to manage it. I do a lot more interesting work in my non 9 to 5, and I have done for 20 years, always, like, whether it's been my main hustle or side hustle. And through all of those and current experiences, I will say that at that particular time, because remember, we never step in the same river twice, things are always changing. But at that particular time, there is an opportunity to build a sort of a playbook, a crisis playbook. You could call it a strategy, you could call it preparedness, like whatever you want to call it. But you've got your responses in there. You've outlined your risks and then your responses. You've got to have your playbook ready. That was actually one of my courses that I was saying I had initially put out there when I first started this channel. It was really about creating a playbook. You have to, and I say this in the PR disaster video that'll be out, you absolutely must write down what the risks and the issues are, so you know what you're dealing with. Like, what do the haters say? What are the biggest critics of you and your service, your brand, your product, whoever you are? What do they say? and then have your responses ready. So you've got to put yourself actually in that position, and it could be a little bit like uncomfortable. You might think, oh, but that's not useful. I'm sort of focusing on all the bad stuff. I need to focus on the good stuff. But your audience doesn't always give you that room or grace. Your audiences can be fickle and loyal one day, your biggest critic the next. So definitely have your playbook ready. Have an idea of who your audiences are in this playbook. So not just about the risks, not just about the responses, but who are your audiences? Current, established, new, and which platforms do you diversify on? This will actually help you to stress test your brand's resilience, because you need to stress test it. You absolutely must stress test your business, your brand, your online presence. I do this mentally all the time. I'm always thinking about, how could this land? What would they think? What doesn't work for them? How do I need to qualify this better? Did I deliver it in a punchy way, or was it too punchy and not conversational enough? At some point, you're not going to be able to please everyone. We've got to accept that as well, because not everyone is for everyone. So I'm not going to be the expert on strategic, reflective, critical thinking for creators and entrepreneurs online. I'm not. I might be. No, I'm not. So, and I've had to learn, the creative in me has had to learn to, when looking at this sort of strategic content brand business game, to be much more focused, much more discerning, much more discriminatory. And having to discriminate and choose and choose a niche. Let me at 'em. Like, it's almost like, what are you doing to the artist and the creative in me? And every time I've heard this from friends, fellow creatives, and they've said, maybe you should focus on one thing. The creative in me is like, oh, leave me alone. But honestly, since I've made space for the strategic side of me and really cultivated that part of me, especially as I've been studying my postgrad, MSc in systems thinking, it has just brought a lot more focus and discipline to even my creativity. Because you know, if you ask any creative or artist, do they love getting up every single day and working on what their passion is? Absolutely not. You just have to not rock up, you've got to show up to the canvas, to the desk, to the guitar, to wherever it is you're doing. Show up and just, practice your thing. That sort of, I would say, discipline is what then builds your expertise. And when you stress test your brand and you do it in a disciplined, regular fashion, you get stronger and much more better. Much more better? Much better when planning for Black Swan events, because you need to have a backup ready. You need something. It's almost like your playbook, your crisis playbook, is going to be your backup. It's the thing that's going to be defending you no matter what. I have absolutely loved having you here for this entire stream. And if you're watching the recording, thank you very much. If you haven't already subscribed, I don't know what else to say to convince you. Of course, you must know it helps the channel, and you watching this far has helped the channel. Please do support me to continue putting content out there for creators and entrepreneurs, for those who want to take their strategic thinking, their reflective, critical thinking up a notch, and also for me to share all the wonderful insights I get from my practitioner work in comms and strategic consulting, but also as a systems thinking practitioner in training, if you like. So it's been absolutely wonderful. Videos every week with the odd bonus stream. as you're seeing and hearing here. It's wonderful to meet you in this way. I hope to meet you in the comments, and do return. I'll see you in the next one.